Hello everyone, welcome. It is, well, technically the first developer Q&A of 2019, of course, not the first stream on this channel, because if you didn't see it already, last Friday's stream had us interviewing the Gowers and celebrating the 18th birthday of RuneScape with a quiz. How was the quiz, by the way? I wasn't able to.
It was a mess.
It was, yeah.
An absolute sweaty mess.
It was very warm, it was very confusing, and there were people cheating. It was just terrible.
I thought
Why?
Perfect
But
party
fun.
logo.
I wasn't on it. I watched it. It was amazing. I loved every second of it.
It was good fun, but it was pure unbridled chaos.
All right.
Oh my god. Oh, Serum Spirit.
You got the Serum
Timo is playing Mining and Smithing on his
not
phone.
based in mining progress, as Mining Smithing. So obviously, we have to get into it. Mining Smithing Rework, of course, that's fine. I have no problem with it.
Put it on airplane mode if we get cracked.
Well, yeah, if the microphone stack, I've already given that warning, so he's fine to do it. But if they hear crackling, then yeah.
Just hold it further away
I
from
got a huge bladed rune salvage. Just let you know.
32k alk right there. There you go.
Nice.
Anyway, or 40k alk even. Mining Smithing Rework released yesterday. Well, in your how many years has it been since you've worked on it, Mod Jack?
Or something.
6 years.
Something like that. Well, sort of. Like,
Obviously in different
first time I talked about it at RuneFest was like 6 or 7 years ago. Maybe longer.
So if we look at the project that's just released, how long has that been in development for?
That's been in development for, I think, 18 months. It might be 16. Development started literally 2 days after RuneFest 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
Oh,
After
yeah.
RuneFest
So was
2016.
that
Yes,
September?
of course. Yes.
September, October, yeah.
That makes sense.
So, okay, so it's like 15 months.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say, we'll get into it, but just to introduce everyone on the couch from left to right, we have Mod Silver, Mod Timbo, Mod Jack, and Mod Raven. So we're going to be going through the topics covered in the Introduction to 2019 video. If you have not seen it, it is on YouTube for you to go watch back, but we're going to be covering the major topics that come from there, in particular, Mining Smithing, which has just released, the Comp Cape Rework, which, as you can imagine, will be a very interesting topic when we get onto it, Elite Dungeon 3, and then getting into a little bit of Ninja and game updates from GameJam from them, including player-owned Farmhands as well. So let's jump into Mining Smithing. Overall, are you happy with how it's gone since release?
Frankly, better than I expected.
Well,
really?
No offense to the developers, but I did expect there were going to be some horrific problems because it's just such a huge thing.
I can't drag myself away from it. I'm literally playing Mining and Smithing on a live stream on my phone.
We were terrified there was going to be like a rollback bug because we changed
from the
so
login
much.
check and stuff like that, yeah.
We kicked a load of items off the G. I don't think we've ever done that before.
We have done it a few times.
But
not
so
in
many.
Not to this extent.
Huge number of items got kicked off the G. Vast quantities of items got substituted for other items. I believe if you have a rune plate body now, it's not the same rune plate body item. It's actually a different item.
A different item, yeah.
So if those old rune plate bodies got loose in the economy, something might break. They all had to be replaced. So yeah, it was technically very challenging, and the devs did a really good job. And
Someone said in the chat, Purple Forges haven't been taken off to GE yet. That is known. Is that correct?
Yes, that was a bug. Yeah. There are bugs, but nothing that meant that we need to roll back or cold fix. Or...
So yeah, let's actually talk about it. So fixes, fix wise. What are we working on?
I noted a few. So we've got a load of low priority stuff, like loads and loads. We've got a few weeks now to work on fixes. Stuff I'm looking at the moment, which is high priority, is some crossbows and armor sets didn't get substituted. I'm hoping we could do something about that.
Cool.
Iron Men can't buy gear from shops anymore.
Oh, because of the price increase, right?
Yeah. A good suggestion I saw for that is maybe we could sell salvage in shops. We'll have to look at the economy. That's not a promise, but I'll have to look at the economy and whether that fixes that problem. We had a couple of dupe bugs yesterday, which we fixed. We're investigating whether or not any damage happened. And whether or not we need to fix anything. Luminite injectors aren't working. I think that got hotfixed.
That was hotfixed 2 hours ago.
They're going to put a bank. It hasn't been hotfixed yet. I'm not sure if it's going to be hotfixed or not. They're going to put a bank pin on. If during your session you start smithing.
Oh, so
from your metal bank.
Okay, so if you access
you'll
the
have
bank,
to enter your bank pin once per session.
That's good.
Buy limits on salvage and
Stone Spirits.
Stone Spirits are far too low. That unfortunately requires a cold fix, but we don't think it's worth bringing the servers down for, so that won't be till next Monday.
So yeah, that will need a reboot to obviously after the limits, but obviously everyone is now aware of that, so obviously they can prepare for that as well.
So those are like the high priority issues right now. There is a whole bunch of lower priority stuff we're looking at.
So let's go into some of the questions we have from it. So I think overall the question is, you mentioned, of course, 16 months in development, or 16 or 18, you're not sure, but
I think it's
15. 15. So do you think the time and the effort that we put into it was justified and worth it based on the release and what we got out of it?
It's hard to say. At this
Very
stage.
open-ended, because we're only on day 2.
It's really hard to say. I've got some stats actually, although they're not particularly informative.
Go on.
Mining. So this is yesterday. Mining XP gained 11,306,538,846.
The graph is really great. It's like mining XP, boom. It's like 3 times as high.
748 levels gained yesterday.
Do you have a comparison of what it was before?
It was less than that.
Wow.
About 3 times less than that, maybe more.
There you go then.
Yeah, it was like 4 times as much mining. Smithing far less. 4,086,466,972 XP, which was 23,749 levels. Also, smithing didn't see anywhere near as big a jump. I think probably there were actually quite a lot of people smithing on Sunday, trying to burn through their supplies of things. And also, obviously, a lot of people are going to just be saving for WXP weekend.
So there's a couple of tips I want to kind of read out really quickly. I know we've kind of been sharing these as the update has come out, but there's a couple of things, one of which blew my mind yesterday, is that overloads are actually very effective in mining. So if you don't know this, your strength level has a little bit of an impact in the damage you do to a rock.
One tenth of your strength is effectively added as mining levels.
So you can either use, let's say, an extreme potion or a overload and actually increase the damage you do to a rock via that.
Doing right now.
Oh, are you actually?
Do you think it's cost effective to do? I didn't think it was cost effective to do.
Well, the thing is, people have thousands of overloads left over
if-
from getting like 120 Hebla or something.
Also, actually, I want to ask you about the stamina bar, if that's okay. So the blue and yellow bar above the head that you can toggle on.
Yes.
So obviously that wasn't a default on the update launch, but players can toggle that on.
You can toggle that on. The reason it's not toggled on by default is it's misleadingly prominent.
Okay.
There are a lot of mechanics in this rework that people are going to take days or weeks or even months to discover and figure out how to optimize. I mean, you can just go read Suti's guide, right, and I'll tell you. But assuming you haven't done that, because you aren't like connected to social media at all, then it's going to take players a while to figure stuff out. And stamina is not one of the most important things.
It's definitely an advantage.
There are other things that you can do to optimize better than stamina.
It goes without saying.
So by putting it above the player's head, we're like, this is important. You need to pay attention to this. Everyone needs to know about this.
Because the drop only happens when
it doesn't affect most players at all.
The drop only happens when you get down to 0, right?
If it drops, so that if it's full, you get a bonus. If it's somewhere between full and empty, you get a smaller bonus. And if it's empty, you get no bonus. But if you just play normally, like semi-AFK, clicking on opportunities, you'll always be like in the middle somewhere. Yeah. So you just ignore the mechanic. The only people who need to pay attention to it are people who are full AFK or clicking every 4 ticks. Because if you click every 4 ticks, the bar stays full. And
you get an achievement.
You get a small bonus. Yeah, there's an achievement to draw attention to that. It changes the colour of the sparks when you hit the rock. I think it's green sparks if you're at full.
Yeah, green.
And you get, compared to like in the middle where you would normally be, you get like an extra 12%. So it's not that big a bonus.
My sick 4 tick trick. I believe
it was originally had a way longer name when we had to reduce it. Oh yeah, and then we had to take the word click out because of mobile compliance as well. It was originally like my sick 4 tick click trick or something.
Oh jeez.
And I had to take the word click out.
I really like every 15 seconds. It's like you can do it. And you get an achievement.
So I've got a question on with double XP coming up in February. We have some restrictions that normally happen. For example, player-owned farms recently released in September. We limited some things during double XP. Is anything going to be limited?
I wasn't planning on it, but I don't know. That's not really my decision.
That's fair enough. I'm just
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think people will probably be anticipating it already, and it would be a bit unfair to suddenly say that.
Yeah, smithing's always been all production skills are typically double XP weekend skills, so there's no reason to change anything.
Cool. Bit of a bit of a fun question. Anything that sticks out from a most silliest, largest bug of a Mining Smithing Rework update?
No.
I mean, obviously it'd be better if we had such developers on here.
Last night, and I was like, "There's a jute bug! Oh God!" And I'm running around trying to.
Well, yeah, I feel like I'm the bearer of bad news every time.
You were on the bus, right? And you're texting.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a jute bug, and I'm like, "Oh
on the
God!"
bus and I'm sending a video.
I'd gone home to get my children from school, and I'm like, "Who's gonna fix this?"
Yeah, but I mean, we managed to get it sorted, and obviously that's the fun of it. I love. It sounds really odd to say, but when stuff like that happens,
I'd love it if I was in the office. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I feel like it's like a motivator to like, okay, we need to get this done, and stuff like that. I don't know. I think it's really cool.
I don't know. I hate it when someone comes to you. You got a juke bug. It's like, oh no, why?
Not a common occurrence, thank God. Some couple other tips just to nail off. When you're doing your smelting, make sure you have superheat full and prayer active because it actually significantly reduces the time of your smelting. As an example, with smelting gauntlets, if you haven't got them, they increase your make X to 60 as well.
Those are what goldsmithing gauntlets are called.
Which is such a good change. But I mean, 60 Elder Rune bars take about 100 seconds, but with prayer, it goes down to 60, which obviously as time goes on, speeds up a lot more. So I mean, it's pretty awesome.
And if you're wearing Grace of the Elves, all it takes is a prayer renewal, and you don't have to worry about
Use
it.
the Elven Shard from Solak, and you have an EE version of prayer, and you never have to use prayer pop. All these tips.
It's not a high priority issue right now, but we'll look into Porters and Grace of the Elves sending stuff to the bank rather than the metal bank. I don't know whether we're going to make that change, but we'll certainly invest.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool. A question about, someone mentioned about the portable forges in the chat, so we're able to talk really quickly about portable forge to luminite injector, i.e. why was that change made?
So the problem with portable forges is they don't really make sense in the rework for two reasons. The first is that smithing requires 2 locks now. Lock is what we call objects in the world. You need to click on the anvil and you need to click on the forge, and the portable forge is only one. So we could make separate portable anvils and portable forges that you put down next to each other and you click on both, and then that's getting fiddly and weird at this point. The second is, what the portable forge effectively does is let you set up an area where people can smith together.
Yeah.
And we'd rather have that be somewhere in particular, if you see what I mean. So actually, with the Artisan's Workshop being the place to go to do smithing, so you know if you want to go do smithing, you know where to go. There's sort of no reason for the portable forge, if that makes sense. And especially with the metal bank allowing you access to the bank, to your metal, the portable forge doesn't actually serve much purpose.
Well, and if there was a metal bank on the portable forge, then it would make ore boxes redundant.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they'd just be
you'd be able to bank.
boxes.
You'd be able to bank from anywhere.
Yeah.
The skill has changed so much that the previous design of the portable forge sort of didn't work. There may be room to put some new portable thing back in the future once we know what impact that might have, once we can see how people have adapted to the mechanics.
I think it's safe to say, though, having it based in the Artisan's a really good idea, especially because you guys obviously graphically reworked the area as well. So I think having that all in one was a really cool thing.
If you want to go get some advice, high-level players and low-level players can talk, and there's lots of people chatting there and sharing tips, particularly because the rework's so complicated, right? There's hundreds of mechanics. People can discuss them and share them.
What happened to the question from chat? What happened to the Chickaxe?
Maybe might happen. Don't know. Put it in ED3. I don't know. The problem is stats and cosmetic overrides and stuff. It's not trivial to implement technically. Also, it was Deg's thing, and he's dead to us.
Oh man!
R.I.P. Deg, if you're watching.
He won't be.
Wow.
He totally will.
He might be.
He totally watches these. I know he does. Don't let me down, Deg.
He needs that LootScape, that's what he wants.
Yeah, the LootScape.
He's there spamming LootScape. Yeah.
Why wasn't the opportunity taken to add an elite smithing outfit? We already have one for mining, technically. Well, not an elite one,
the primary answer to any of this is scope. I saw in the wording of the question, it was like, this would have been the ideal time to add it. And I'm like, no, this was basically the worst time to add it. We're making a massive update to the skill. Everyone's excited. There's loads of new mechanics to play with. There's loads of new complications going on. There's loads to do. That's not the right time to add a refresh. Like a skilling outfit kind of works like a refresh from a skill, and this skill is getting one of the biggest refreshes a skill has ever got.
Plus, don't forget, there's so many rewards to do with Mining Smithing that got changed that it wasn't actually, it's difficult to implement all those at the same time. Juju potions, auras, gadgets.
Dozens
and
and dozens of them.
So many rewards that adding more rewards on top is a bit of a design.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also just the time thing of, you could have added in, and remove what?
Well, yeah, it's scope as well, as Jack mentioned.
So I just want to make this very clear. When you first log in, if you haven't logged in already, you'll have Rune, Addy, Myth, and Steel items converted to tokens. Now, people have said, I haven't gotten any tokens whatsoever. Now, if you're one of the people who have a lot of items prior to the update, your tokens will become a package. I believe it's 1 million tokens as a package. Is that correct?
I can't remember if it's a
I
million.
think it's 1 million, but I'm sure someone from upstairs will correct me in the Twitch chat. But I think it's 1 million. So if it's not actually called that, you can double check your bank. It is definitely there. So just a a clarification on that. 'Cause we saw
we had a lot of bugs that people weren't receiving tokens.
it was a panic.
We checked again and again because that would be a rollback bug, right? Like
Yeah.
if we deleted everything in your bank and you didn't get the tokens, it's like, oh. So we checked and checked and checked and checked, and every case that we could find, it had been done correctly.
Yeah, it was a panic, initial panic.
Except
anyway.
Prosperous.
Oh yes, of course. Okay, so let's jump into kind of the course. Obviously, you mentioned about the additions to and changing everything for this update. We saw the geodes come in with the 3 different versions, free-to-play version, well, from free-to-play ores, the Igneous from members, and then, of course, Metas from a rarity chance on them. So, do you see those tables change at all in any way?
Probably not the first two. So what geodes are, I think geodes are sort of misleadingly exciting. They're actually basically just unidentified gems. So they stack.
So what's the, so I've got to ask, the 1 spirit shard drop, what's that about?
So in balancing on the last beta, we sort of discussed and agreed that the drop rate from gems was about twice what it should be. So the 2 choices were halve the drop rate of geodes, which would require all geode-related rewards to be rebalanced. And some of them are like plus 1%, so that would have to become plus 0.5%. It's kind of awkward. Or we could put something on the geode drop table 50% of the time, which wasn't a gem, which would halve the drop rate of gems. And the options were nothing, a coin, or a spirit shard, because spirit shards stack. So, and there's one guy on Reddit who was like, "Oh my god, I love that geodes drop spirit shards now. This is fantastic because now I can get spirit shards free." And I was really happy for him because I only put them on there because they were worthless. Because like 1 spirit shard is not a very good drop, right?
So in a sense then, spirit shard's like oh well, you've missed out on a gem.
Yeah, it's better
right,
than literally nothing.
I think it works out overall feeling a bit nicer as well, because you know, if the geodes were really, really rare, they're like, oh, this is something you don't get a lot of. But if you get them more often, twice as often as you should a gem, and then sometimes they're not good, you end up with like a big old stack of stuff that you can just go and, you know, power through in a sitting of like, oh, I got 500 geodes.
I believe the best drop you can get from an igneous geode is a diamond. I think onyxes are only in metamorphics. Maybe
You can get Dragonstone.
Dragonstone.
You can
Oh,
do
you get
Dragonstone,
Dragonstone,
yeah.
Igneous.
I remember
So
getting
if you,
a few
like,
Dragonstones.
if the chance of a Dragonstone is not worth it for you from an igneous, because Dragonstones aren't that valuable anymore, just drop them.
I have friends.
Someone did suggest
Just drop those Dragonstones so I can pick them up.
Someone suggested like a geode herbicide, which I thought was a really good
Oh, yeah.
suggestion. I could see that as a future update.
Geodicide.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, I've got 300 Igneous to open, but I'm not opening them.
But yeah, the intended flow is you stack them up, then you take them back to
Yes.
the bank and open them in the bank.
And of course, you can right-click and open all, right? Because there's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they open like prawn balls do or used to.
Cool.
And the reason the metamorphics is a separate item is because originally the design was an igneous could contain a rare prize. But if that was the case, you'd have to open all your igneuses in order to get the rare prize. So by separating out the metamorphic, which is like a 1% chance, plus more if you've got luck, that means that you know you got a good prize, so it's definitely worth opening, and you don't need to open all the igneuses if you don't want to.
Right, let's jump into PBM. So obviously with PBM we saw the changes where Rune Ore and Addy Ore now become Stone Spirits. But from that, of course, we've seen posts where the value of, let's say, a 200 Runite ore drop from Telos, which prior to the update was about 2.3 million, so on and so forth, is now basically worthless. So what's the plan?
We need to wait and see what happens with it.
Okay.
The substitute of gear for salvage is great, because I think it's actually a slight net buff in terms of both money and components. It does depend on the item, but it's a slight net buff overall. And certainly in the case of, say, Nex, Torva demand should have gone up because of Trim Masterwork. Certainly that seems to be reflected in the price. It's massively shot up over the last couple of weeks, I think. But we need to keep an eye on what's going on overall. It's not like this is done and we're happy with it and it's fine and we're not going to make any changes. The problem that we have right now, as in like today and this week, is there's no obvious thing to substitute them from. So the problem of the rework isn't actually stone spirits. It's if we left the rune ore on, because rune got lowered in level, it's worth less. Stone spirits actually, I mean, the economy's all messed up at the moment because of the buy limit. So we need to fix the buy limit and then see. They ought to stabilise at just less than the value of an ore. Obviously, rune ore is much less valuable now. So the question is, what would we substitute it for? If we substituted it for high-level ore, that would just recreate the exact problem that we have now. If we just put Animica on Nexus drop table, that would be a disaster because the whole point is to get it off. We could replace it with Animica stone spirits, but then everyone would have to run to Nex in order to farm stone spirits before they could do any mining. So it wouldn't be the mining update, it would be the next improvement update, right? And the point isn't to buff PVM. We
Weird
could replace
next,
it with
but
raw
okay.
cash drops.
Oh, nice.
We could replace it with raw cash drops. Now we've just injected massively more money into the game. So what we need to do is wait for the economy to stabilize, look at the state of the bosses, see what fixes we need to make.
Yeah.
We're not intending, it's not intended to be a long-term nerf to PVM, but we need to look at where it stabilizes, look at where the price, because it may be that, say, Animika Stone Spirits end up not really very valuable, in which case putting those on monster drop tables won't actually help either. So we just need to take a look at it in the short and medium term and see what fixes we need to make.
Cool. So when it comes to the team itself, what are you guys going to be working on next?
Comp Cape.
Leads
Well,
us-
so we're still on Mining Smithing. for
yes.
3 weeks.
So
The-
obviously
the-
post-release monitoring and stuff like that. Cool.
It's actually, we don't usually get long period of post-release fixes, so it's really good.
Someone said, "How'd you get the bar above your head when mining to show you when to click again?" It's in general settings, and then scroll down. You'll see an option called stamina. Just tick that. That'll make a bar appear above your head when you're doing your mining. Well, additional bar, I should say, which is related to stamina. For people saying they've lost money from the tokens, literally, tip: use the tokens, convert them to salvage and alch them. You'll probably find you make more money.
Yeah, I thought we fixed that by setting the alch value on the tokens so your tab wouldn't lose value, but
Well, I've just converted them to huge, and
yeah,
I make
think,
40k
I think the
per.
tokens themselves have the correct value set, so it may be that it's all that's doing that, because obviously the alch value of all changed.
Yes.
Which,
Okay, so let's jump into another contentious topic, obviously, which come off PVM drops. Now let's go into the big one. Right, Comp Cape Rework. So, we mentioned this in the Introduction 2019 video. What are our plans for the Completionist Cape in RuneScape?
I'm tryharding this live stream.
Oh, by
so I
all
make
means.
notes.
No, but that's good. This is good.
So the comp project formally starts when Mining and Smithing post-release finishes, so it's in a couple of weeks' time. But in anticipation of wanting to start as soon as possible, we started just before New Year discussing it on Discord.
Yeah.
So there are now 10 Discord channels. I keep making new ones. If you go on the official RuneScape Discord, we've got a link to that.
Discord.gg/RS.
There are a lot of people posting a lot of feedback, so I'm reading as much as ever I can, but obviously Mining Smithing is taking up quite a lot of time as well. But it's good to discuss with the other people on the Discord, because we're trying to get some consensus and agreement on that. Basically, the plan is to poll it. There's a poll almost ready, but Mod Osborne pointed out that it'd probably be good to have a dev blog to go with it. So that's probably coming next week, early next week, a poll.
Probably.
That poll is not going to be, should we do, like, it's not going to specify an exact design and ask for yes or no. Instead, it's going to ask a series of questions like, how do you feel about stats? How do you feel about various different ideas? And it won't be a guaranteed content poll. It will be like, we're going to try and get as much information about what people want. So what I mean by that, if it's not guaranteed content, is, for example, we're going to distinguish between people who do and don't have comp. And if everyone who doesn't have comp wants it to be easier, and everyone who does have comp, which is a smaller number of people, wants it to be harder, then we'll have to figure out what to do with that information. We won't just go, oh, the majority said this, so we'll definitely do what the majority said.
Yeah, the aim is the results of the poll will help inform my design.
That'll inform the design.
And I think it's a good thing to say that, for 2019, I think I'm confident in saying the polls are a thing that we do want to do more of. This is like a perfect example of why we're doing them, right?
I mean, we have said that for a number of years.
I know we've made that
To
very...
play devil's advocate, I know we do want to do more.
I can say, though, that as CM, we have to now lead the way in regards to all the comms. So the passion in me for polls is there, so that's kind of on me now.
Yeah,
so
I know.
We'll see.
I
But yes,
want to make sure we don't
Yeah, of course. That's fair.
overpromise like we have done in the past.
That's fair.
But now, if we don't deliver, it's all his fault.
Yeah, no, you have a scapegoat for this, so
blame
it's
Shawnee,
fine. It's what you guys do anyway. It's fine.
So tentatively, the plan is poll and dev blog next week,
Right.
design the week after. If you want to get involved now, come on Discord and chat about it, or you can tweet or post on Reddit or whatever. Broadly speaking, and this is so a lot of this is my opinion. This is not Jagex's official plan, and we won't do any of this without more information and more opinions from players. Is the primary problem with comp is that because it has best in slot stats and utility on it, everyone feels like they have to have it, even though they don't actually care about completionism. This has created a situation where lots of people feel compelled to do comp even though they don't want to comp, and all the people who actually do want to comp aren't getting the requirements they feel like it should have So whole updates can just not be on comp, or the requirements that are there are very small. You don't actually have to do very much, because we don't want to alienate and frustrate the players who are only doing it for the stats. So I think we need to fix that problem. That's the absolute primary.
Yeah, because obviously, unfortunately, what we do see with updates like this, where a completionist comes into play, and then it's like, oh, you've taken my best in slot combat cape, now I can't do PVM as efficiently.
Exactly.
And
Well, yeah, now I have to go do
to
X hours of whatever content to go back to do what I want.
And you don't want to go do Menethos just to get your PVM cape, right?
No.
That's the
I
sort of
think
problem
it-
we've had in the past.
I think I can say that it kind of is a scary thing for developers sometimes when they consider
Yeah,
adding
it's a
recs like
nightmare
this to their
for us as
content.
well.
Because it's like, well, if we do this, then do we essentially introduce toxicity to our content because of a time gate or so on and so forth? So, yeah.
So the first point would be to fix that problem. There are 3 or 4 different ways we could fix it.
Yeah.
Literally take stats off it entirely, change it so that there's easier ways to get best in slot stats, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of different things we could try. That's one of the questions that we'll be polling. Point 2 would be, having done that, we can then look at having a better definition of what comp is. So at the moment, the definition of comp has become very hazy, because people will say, well, it's supposed to be completionist and so on and so forth. And there's various different, like, we could write like a vision statement for what should and shouldn't be on comp, and then that will, like, devs can then easily tell what should and shouldn't be on comp, and players can tell. We then also, a problem that I think a lot of players wouldn't think of, but that we have, is that if you've maxed, comp is a long way off.
Well, and it's growing as well.
And it gets bigger all the time, yeah. I mean, max gets bigger, but not very often.
Yeah.
Whereas comp just constantly gets bigger. There's no intermediary aims or goals. So we would want to add...
You're either in it for a seriously long slog,
Yeah.
or you give it
may
up.
as well just not bother.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So we'd want to add intermediary capes that are harder than maxing. Or maybe there might be some that are easier than maxing as well, that aren't just, milestone capes. But harder than max, but easier than comp. And possibly even harder than trim as well. There's no particular reason not to do that.
Trim.
Yeah.
Trim, yeah.
True trim.
Insane trim, we've been calling it.
Customized, trimmed cape.
I mean, early to say, but do we see RuneScape having an impact in this at all?
A design I really like that players have pitched is that comp is determined by percentage of rune score. But I don't think that design will work in practice without completely reworking how achievements work.
Yeah.
Because the achievements that we have aren't designed with that in mind, so that loads of them are really spurious, and actually a lot of critical content isn't represented.
Yeah.
So percentage of rune score would be really weird, and you'd have players gaming it, and no one would ever do the 5,000 Castle Walls achievement in that case, That's the last critical point is. So I can see 3 controversies. The first is hard PVM being on comp. The second is group PVM, or forced group content, regardless of whether it's hard, being on comp. And the third is Castle Wars. I don't have definitive answers to those questions. The answer is definitely not yes, and it's definitely not no. It's we need to figure out what to do with those.
Well, we're Reaper. I know that falls in, but I mean...
The problem with Reaper is both hard PVM and group content. So those are it's not just Reaper, it's those 2 sub-problems.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned next week, fingers crossed, dev blog, poll and so on, but is this going to be kind of similar to Mining Smithing in regards to the communication of how it's going and stuff like that? Are we planning to take that same approach? Okay.
Yeah, should be, yeah. Just completely open design.
Presumably not a beta, though, in the scale of Mining Smithing.
No, it doesn't. It's not a technically complicated project in the same way. There's no, like with Mining and Smithing, it was like there's a million things. Fundamentally, comp is just a tick list. And we need to write that tick list. We need to determine what criteria goes on it, and then we need to write all the things that go on it. And that's actually not technically that demanding a project. But it's obviously massively important to the game and the players, so it needs a lot of thought.
And
the amount of time figuring out what we should do could take just as long.
Yeah, going back to the whole completionist.
But that's why we're starting now rather than in a few weeks when the project starts.
Yes. I mean, going back to the whole comp thing, I remember maxing and then realising I haven't started ports at all, so that was great. Classic ports, holding me back a long time. Although right now my biggest holdback is 120 Slayer, so this is the way it is. I'm only 3 recs away, so I feel like I'm going to end up getting comp just as me and my wife want to try and get comp at the same time, but I think we're going to get it just as you guys launch.
So romantic.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that you highlight a really interesting question there, which is essentially, if I currently have comp or I'm about to get comp, or
Will I lose comp with the
will I lose comp,
Yes.
or will my comping be a waste of time because I got a load of stuff I didn't need? Like, those are the problems we need to figure out.
I mean, ideally, you wouldn't lose anything from the update.
Yeah,
but
we don't.
We just don't know yet.
We don't want anyone to lose out, and we don't want anyone to have wasted their time. But we need to figure out where the right compromise is on that.
Ha. Compromise.
Yeah. Weird comp, but okay.
Okay, so in the meantime, I can't see any questions from the chat on the comp rework, so by all means, as we're going through the stream, feel free to pop them in. We'll kind of come back to it later.
I've not really seen many.
And just discussion, really, but not actual questions, so to speak. There's actually a lot of questions about Livid Farm, classic. Oh, man. Yeah, no, nothing there I can see. So in the meantime, then, we'll move on to another thing that was featured in the Introduction to 2019 video, which was Elite Dungeon 3. We actually have, if you were here right at the start of the stream, you might have heard an audio clip play, which seemed to catch people out of the blue, completely understandable, but I leave it up to mods, Raven and Sober, to prompt when they want us to play any sort of audio clips as we talk about Elite Dungeon 3. So
Any audio clips.
there we go. Why did I say that?
The last one?
I have not missed that one. That one brings back memories of 2017.
Jack, stop it.
Right, let's just break now. Okay, so Elite Dungeon 3, we've gone through the prefaces of the content itself many a time already. Safe to say, very hyped for it. Elite Dungeon 1, of course, came out in June, I want to say. Was it June?
End of
June, and then the start of August for Elite Dungeon 2. So obviously Elite Dungeon 3 on the way for the first couple of months 2019. So first of all, let's kind of go into the setting, I guess, of it. We've had Temple of Amnesia, Elite Dungeon 1, Elite Dungeon 2, Dragon King Laboratory, Elite Dungeon 3.
The Shadowy.
So this is very free reign, I guess, this part of the stream, because the question thread didn't get much on it, mostly due to the fact, I assume, because of Mining Smithing and so on. So I'm going to flip things around and go, if there's anything you guys want to mention about Elite Dungeon 3, the floor is all yours. So instead of asking questions, and obviously we'll grab anything from the chat, but if there's anything you want to mention about the update, then the floor is yours.
I had one thing that I had in mind, which is a combat change that we're making. So charge bows, currently, you can, fire without having any arrows. However, if you have like a special arrow like Bane arrows, you can't use them. So the best bow in the game is kind of not that great because you can't use any good ammunition. However, after ED3 comes out, you'll be able to use any ammo with any charge bow. In most cases, that's pretty useless. Regular ammo, it would be pointless. You should just carry on using your charge bow without anything. However, if someone were to release some fancy new arrows, hint, hint.
Fancy new arrows, you say?
Like Dragonbane arrows.
Dragonbane 2 arrow boogaloo.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so they'll be useful, and you'll be able to use them with your Seren God bow, with, oh God help me, which is the
Sarite bow.
tier 87 P...
Decimation?
They've
all got fancy names.
They have very fancy, dramatic, destruction
it might be
names.
Decimation.
I think Decimation seems to ring a bell. I think Decimation is definitely the name. I don't know if it's the ranged one though, but I'm sure someone in the chat will help us out on that one.
Yeah.
Help us out.
It's Decimation. There you go.
Okay.
Job done. See,
I was right.
The chat believe. See, you got to believe in the chat. And Obliteration is magic, and something else is melee, but I can't remember. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember the money one.
The crossbow. So the crossbow's already been shown. In the intro to 2019 video, I quite enjoyed, obviously, the animation that isn't finished yet, how he's just holding it in one hand, even though it's just the little things. But it looks incredible. Obviously, it can be dyed, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
So model-wise, it looks really pretty. So why did you go with the approach of a two-handed Tier 92 crossbow for Elite Dungeon 3 as a weapon path?
So We wanted to kind of diversify the weapon choices. So obviously now, if you are choosing range, the thing that you're doing is you're dual wielding crossbows. So we wanted to add a two-hand crossbow and also make arrows more useful. So give a bit of love to bows as well. So we just wanted to spread the meta out a little bit.
And obviously, presumably ammo comes. Is there going to be ammo with this update at all, or is it just the crossbow? Okay.
No new bolts, just new arrows.
Just the okay, cool. Some reason I don't know why this is added to the script, but a question from the chat where it says, "Can we drown?"
Please don't go drown yourselves. Is the responsible answer to that?
Three, I think maybe.
Yes.
In
Yes.
ED3, there are no drowning mechanics. You have you can breathe. We fudged it. I'm not lying.
It's magic.
There's
Everyone
a
knows magic.
But it makes sense. There was some lore added into Pieces of Hate that explained it. It explains it badly, but it does explain it. That's the key point.
Is that because you don't want to require people to use the diving apparatus all the time?
I mean, that's the main problem, yeah. It's like, we want you in the dungeon, we want you to have all the combat animations, the combat mechanics that people can use, and if we put people in diving apparatus, all they can do is go, well, that boss, it has killed me. Which is amusing for me, but not fun to play.
We could have combat diving apparatus.
I mean, that... It would be lovely, but that would also require
There's a
us
reward
to...
space.
It's a reward space. All this underwater content we have.
You'd either have to not allow people to bring their gear in, or potentially rework all the combat animals, thinking of underwater animations, everything. It's like, we did broach this with the animation team, and they just sort of screamed at us. So we decided it's probably unwise.
And we recorded their screams with the Dragon Kitten.
Good segue.
So do we want to play a couple of audio clips?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So this is some voiceover work that some of us in our team did, and some of the other people around the company helped out with. The first one, I believe, is the three sisters who are mini bosses in ED3.
The ambassador must weaken the veil! Cranon may be a slave to his hubris, but the ritual will serve our goals.
The World Guardian is too small a focus. Why settle for just one world?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We're not
That's
going to say
awesome.
anything about who they are,
Except the
but
sisters.
it should be... what?
That's you.
Except it's me.
It's you 3 times.
It's me 3 times.
Wearing different hats.
Different wigs. They didn't know it was me in the audio room.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. But they should be interesting lore-wise. Let's put it
So
that way.
is it one mini boss, 3 sisters, or 3 mini bosses?
3 mini bosses.
So separate mini boss per sister. Cool.
We have interesting interactions that happen between them if multiple of them happen to spawn. So you know how the mini boss system works, right? A random set of the mini bosses will spawn every time you go in.
Do they Voltron if all 3 of them spawn? at the same
Yes, that is exactly what
time?
happens.
Amazing.
So just for another audio clip, I was enjoying the discussion, obviously, of underwater armor and stuff like that. And someone said in the chat about an augmented fishbowl malevolent helm. Just the combination of it just sounds amazing.
Augmented malevolent fishbowl. Ice.
It's an evil broken.
Oh man. So we'll actually
That's right, Jack. Write it down.
Well,
No, I'm writing down the one about crabs.
oh, a layer crabs. Yeah, a layer crabs from Arc Mining. Just to clarify.
There was also a bug apparently. Super Heat Form doesn't work with gold and silver.
Or Luna.
Ooh, I don't know whether it should or not.
Discussion point. Okay. Audio clip. We'll go for audio clip number 2.
Yep. Well, let's roll it first, and then we can talk
Let's
about
find
it.
out.
Ah, I wondered when you might interfere.
Oh, no, that one.
To think you call yourself a hero, as if that means anything.
Love that.
That is a character you will recognise if you've done any menophosing.
Oh.
The
yes.
Sophanum.
Okay.
The Pharaoh.
It's
It's not the Pharaoh.
Pharaoh in ED3.
no.
It's
Is it Ozan?
It's not I sense
Continue
the
to
theme.
go through all of the characters. We'll get there eventually.
Considering you know who it is, I've already worked out how this conversation goes. It will be literally every other character in this game and then a number of other video games.
God damn it.
Is it Lara Croft?
It's,
Oh, jeez. Have we got more?
Yeah.
Okay, what we got?
Cranon cannot be stopped. The ritual cannot be prevented. Halt, mortal. You shall go no further. Your pathetic crusade is at an end.
Is that you? That sounds like you.
Skekverk Taraket, Lithskek Takenmot.
what?
That's you, isn't
I don't know who that
That
is.
sounds like you. Yeah.
No.
Do you know how I could tell? That second audio clip was literally, even with the modified voice, you could tell it's you.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, man.
Halt, mortal.
Sounds like Zero.
You shall go no further.
My blues for ire.
Oh, man.
Zeratul impression. He doesn't care about ire that much, to be fair.
That's that's
so,
you.
I mean, the main reason we brought these in to show that we've brought a little something extra into ED3, which is like a lot of the mini bosses and bosses will have voice acting alongside them. I mean, it's not like a full-on deep kind of cutscenes, everything, but they have various bits of dialogue that's all voiced, and it gives you a kind of extra bit of atmosphere to it.
Oh, actually, speaking of which, John, can I just confirm with you really quickly? Is it the Elite Dungeon stream next week or the week after?
I have no idea yet.
You have no idea yet. Well, am I
There
okay
is
to
a-
mention that there is a plan? I can mention there is a plan, though, yeah? For
It sounds
Yeah,
like there is no plan.
no. I mean,
may or may
we
not
want
be
to
an
do a
ED3 stream.
No, we do want to do a stream, but it's focused on the art and audio for Elite Dungeon 3. So kind of similar to what we did with Violet
Yeah,
and Blue. And I love that stream so much. So I think integrating, obviously, some of the audio clips, kind of showing how we
The
got to that.
audio is really good. Some of the music is just awesome.
I was poking around in the ambassador fight earlier to see if
Thank
the audio played, and the music. Oh, it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I got that. So we're aiming for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time, to do a stream on Elite Dungeon 3's art and audio, which I can't wait for. But yeah, TBC, obviously, dates change, yeah. You know the drill.
I think we have one more clip.
We have one more.
Just to show that everything.
Two more. Oh.
Do you really think you were standing a chance against my blade?
Can we play that? Can we play that again? Sorry.
Do you really think you were standing a chance against my blade?
My blade.
This is the dread pirate of the seas.
Orphan Keith.
Because sometimes we get weird.
Yeah.
Want to explain the pun for those who don't get it?
Shadow Wreath is known as Ulfin Creath, or Ulfin Creath. So we've added in Ulfin Keith, who's a dread pirate who lives in the water. Like pirates do.
And he has a pretty nice sword.
Yeah.
Oh God, I lost it. I completely lost it. Oh,
This is just to show the range in tones that you can expect. We got bossy
Why
with
is-
boss
why
face,
is Bossy
and the
with boss face
floodgates
in?
were opened.
I mean, we should have brought the audio for Bossing with Face, but we forgot.
Oh lordy. And we have one more, right? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, this is a sensible one, though.
You, pathetic worm. You could have been magnificent.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you come to witness this great moment. To be one of the first blessed by his black radiance.
There you go.
Damn.
Any guesses on
Can
who
you guess
that
who
is?
that is?
That's Ambassador?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So the ambassador is fully voiced
Nice.
by Mord Orion, no less.
Yes.
That's Mother Ryan.
Did quite a good job.
Wow.
Did a good job, yeah.
Oh goodness, I'm still.
Did he crawl around in mocap?
Yes, I mean, he didn't need to, but he did.
Or wear the outfit from,
Yeah.
from the RuneFest?
It's just in a dragon.
No, we didn't wear that outfit. He wore the mocap, and then we CGI'd that. That's how we did it at RuneFest as well.
Yep.
Very
Oh,
advanced.
good grief. Oh man. All right, more questions from chat. Can we do any Slayer tasks while in the
So that guy in the chat's like, why British accents?
All the
Funnily enough, we didn't fly Americans over here to voice act
also
bosses for us.
British guys are the villains, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
In every movie.
In-house voice acting.
Oh, except he's called the ambassador, so he should probably be Belgian.
With Ferrero Rochers.
Right?
Other chocolates are available.
I mean, we've very nearly added various jokes like that in, but we resisted. We resisted.
Have you gotten any classic Raven-esque Easter eggs in Raven, Swarm, so on and so forth?
Not yet.
Is the plan to actually have one?
Of course, there's a.
Of course.
Whether or not I succeed is another question.
You wrote some bad goth poetry, right?
Oh, I've written bad goth poetry. That's in there.
Right.
Please have the boss arena where you fight the ambassador be called the ambassador's reception.
I mean, it is now. There aren't any just yet.
Okay.
But if I can find the time, there will be.
Can we do
What was the question? Sorry.
Yeah. Can we do any Slayer tasks in New Dungeon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
We've aimed
explicitly made sure that
I can't remember what it is.
It sounded like a creaky door just opening, and that was great.
I'm revealing the secrets behind the creaky door.
they're not all the top level Slayer tasks and things, but there are some decent ones in there.
Oh, that guy with these ambassador voices! You're truly spoiling us.
Oh, very good.
Yes. Well played.
Well, with the name, with that Twitch name as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't say out loud.
yeah, I did it. Do we have any concept for Bossy McBossface?
No.
He's got a pirate hat on.
Yeah.
I think that's about as safe
That's
as
as
I
much
can
as
say.
we're going to say / show. I think you need to go and see him.
To believe him.
God. You can tell. God. So, release-wise, are we good to mention when we're looking to release? Elite Dangerous 3?
9?
What?
9?
9.
So no, it's
Don't
currently.
think so.
Okay, but obviously because it's in the intro to 2019, early half 2019 is the goal. Okay, cool.
I mean, most of my problem is I don't remember when we said releasing it.
Yeah.
Earlier than 2020.
Definitely that, yeah.
Oh dear me. Okay, let's kind of shift over to Ninja / Game Jam stuff.
I need to
How's-
bypass the elven trap.
Oh no!
So,
Not this rake on a floor that I
talk
keep
about this.
stepping
On
Answer
mobile.
a couple of questions from the chat. that
On
I
mobile,
can't
it's a
answer.
nightmare.
Well, yes, but
On
I want to talk about the
PC,
trap really
it's
quick
also-
Oh, sure, go
because
ahead,
it's
yeah.
great. So, who came up with the idea to add the stick trap behind level 90 light Anamika ore, out of curiosity?
I have no idea. It must have been Stu, I think.
Oh my god, yeah, that's like Stu actually. Genuinely, like last night, I just got home and we were all on doing like Anamika ore, and then you just see people filtering over, and then it's just hilarious. People were taking bets as to how many times a player would fail the trap trying to get on to the next one. Someone failed like 7
Yeah.
times, 4 times.
Who would win?
What
the
if you're
Wild
like-
Guardian with 99 agility or one spiky boy?
What if you're a skilling pure and you don't have any agility levels? Oh god.
You mentioned for skilling pure if you have 1 agility.
Oh dear.
Unless you're a mining smithing pure.
Oh, stick trap is already there, so well done for integrating
Yeah, I
the
think it was
ore in there then. So there we go. But yes, you have questions you want to check? That's all right.
Being able to fletch 60 at a time is a bug, apparently. Someone asked, can we get new hatchets to match the new picks? And the answer is not really until woodcutting gets reworked,
Yeah.
which it may or may not ever. Is there going to be an upgraded Malevolent? No, that's what the Tier 92 Trim Masterwork is. There's no plan to add a Tier 92 version of Malevolent. And then someone was asking, are the Artisan's Workshop enhancers working? So they are working, but they kind of a bit rubbish. So we're going to improve them. So what happens at the moment is, whenever you gain respect, it uses a charge off your enhancer and gives you an additional 0.25%. So if you're not seeing any bonus, it's probably because it's rounding. Because if you got 1, you got 1.25. That's
Well, yeah, the
rounding.
respect only shows.
It is
the whole-
storing. It's storing it on you, but you won't see that.
And
bonus.
respect is 1% every 10,000 XP, isn't it?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. So you're essentially getting 2,500 XP from an enhancer.
So as long as you got at least 2,500 XP, it gives you another 2,500 worth of respect.
Gotcha.
What we're gonna change that so that it can consume multiple charges at once, basically. So if you get 10,000, it can use 4 charges to give you another 10,000 worth of respect.
Oh.
So that it won't give you any more, but it will give it faster, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so yeah, use it quicker. Just before we go on to the Ninja one, actually want to talk about melee armor really quickly. Elite Dungeon 3 presumably is going to be releasing Tier 92 Malevolent? It's not?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Oh wow.
We just said
No, there isn't. There is no tier 90.
No, well, yeah, okay,
it's
right.
masterwork.
Yeah, so I just had to make that very clear because obviously the section is Elite Dungeon 1 we had Ceramic, Elite Dungeon 2 we had Tectonic, so I just had to, I guess, try and make it clear that it wasn't the case with this update. Cool. Right, Ninja/Game Jam. So Timbo, what is the progress on all of the projects from Game Jam?
Pretty good.
So in regards to projects that have been taken on, are you able to list off a few?
So there are player-owned farmhands, which Mr. Raven worked on in Game Jam.
Yep.
And probably talk more about it than I can, potentially. Incense burners, which are the new fire-making milestone items that I designed during Game Jam. Probably more. I can't remember right now.
I know there's stuff for PVM. There's Rage Practice mode.
Yeah, there's the other Rage Practice mode, the other fire making update to do with the fire spirits.
Ah yes, that's Breezy and Shrew, I believe.
Yeah,
Did that,
so we're doing incense burners and that as a package during the week, like a fire making update week, and I think that might be it. There are a lot of other smaller Game Jammy updates, but they're the three major ones I can think of.
Do we know what the deal is with combat diversity? Out of curiosity.
It is on the shelf, the
Right.
infamous shelf.
Gotcha.
Right now. We did design a lot of cool updates. Well, not me, but personally, but ModPie worked on cool updates. We got a bunch of them prototyped. We do want to do combat diversity. Me and Jack were in a meeting yesterday with the one talking about combat diversity.
Yep.
And how we want to do it in the future. So it is on our mind. What it has done for the game is good, and what we want to do with it is, like, it just opens up so much more space for us. That we do want to do it, but it's not going to come in the next couple of months.
Gotcha.
We do get chances to fit things in, like, diversifying what is used with arrows and crossbows, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So things like
your new arrows are going to help try and diversify bows and crossbows.
But for anything
after,
that's like a huge combat update to everything that's just that combat update, that's probably going to be a little bit further down the line.
Yep.
Cool.
Don't explain what farmhands.
I was going to say, let's jump into the farmhand update if we can, just from try and
You
summarize.
can put crawling claws in your farm.
Get literal hands. Is that happening?
You could originally. I don't know if that's still happening. I started it in Tap, and it's been taken over by Mod Melee.
Spot on.
Mod Melee, and she's been making all the changes. So we've got mechanically, we've got the babysitter, who she may have renamed to a better name, which are the ones who. So what you do with the farmhand is you purchase the farmhand from the reward shop, and then you pay a fee every X amount of time. So the initial unlock's quite high and the fee's quite low. So it's a constant amount of beans going through, but it's not a ridiculous sum of beans. It's a small amount. And what you do with the babysitter is you put the babysitter up in one of your pens, and what they will do is animals will stop aging past adolescent. So if you're just trying to sell for beans, you put your babysitter on, they go to adolescent and they stop. Which means you don't get any of the extra XP for the aging stages, you don't get extra materials for the aging stages, but it does mean that you can sell them for beans for a higher price. There's the
breeding pen farmhand
collector. So what you do with them is you put them at the breeding paddock, and when your breeding pen is full, any additional kids that would be born are converted into unchecked versions, which they will hold on to. I don't remember how many they hold on to, but they can hold on to, at least in my original design, I don't know whether they've had to change this, but up to 3 different breeds, and they'll, I think it's a she, will hold on to them for until you collect them.
But the important thing is that they become unchecked versions.
They are unchecked, yeah. So you don't get your trait bonuses, you don't get any of that, you don't get any of those things. But you can sell them on the exchange, which means you can start to sell different breeds on the Grand Exchange, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then there's the Trapper. Again, he may have been renamed. And what the Trapper does is you, unlike other farmhands, you pay them a set fee and they disappear off, and they come back with an unchecked animal. And this can be any animal, any breed, any one of the available animals. So you've got a more likely chance of getting like a rabbit or something small, but you do have the chance of getting like a dragon. So
including all the sub breeds.
I don't think the trapper can do the shiny spider or the shiny dragon anymore.
So I can't do Royal
Well, no, I
and
don't-
the
don't
Araxite spider.
That's correct. Yeah,
Right.
we took those off
Yeah.
recently, but it can do any other.
It can do the other ones, yeah. And this was so that, for example, people like Iron Men who are unable to go and get certain breeds because they're skilling Iron Men can potentially acquire them. It's not the most efficient method. It's still more efficient to go and get them directly out of a particular thing. But if you've got an excess of beans, you can go, well, I'll give them to the trapper, I'll go off and come back and get the thing. And along with that, we're giving the barn, which is I believe you build it, but I'm not 100% sure because Mod Melee has been doing it rather than me.
Yeah.
And what this does is this gives you a barn where you can store animals.
So no longer having to keep them in your bank.
You no longer. There isn't a huge amount of space. I believe it's only like 30 slots or something.
30 is still a lot.
But that should be enough to set up all your breeding.
You can build it, and it starts with 15, and then there's a further upgrade to take it to 30.
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
So this means that you should be able to. I mean, I still say people should be getting rid of their animals anyway, rather than filling their bank with them. But this at least lets you store like your breeding pairs and things.
You say that, but like I've got 50 adolescents.
Well, don't.
I can't sell them quick enough.
Well, try.
We've got trader limited. I can't.
Farm animal
Whose
side.
fault is that?
That's what we need.
Slide.
Are we doing the other one?
Which one?
I turned to you, the additional one that at one point was hilarious. Little fella that's
The one that Mod Roly.
Yeah, is that going live with Farmhands?
I think so.
Okay, I'm not 100% certain on this, but we think that we're doing the basically trash seller. So you can sell your farmhands? No. You can sell your animals for a reduced amount. So it won't be the best amount.
It's for 10% of what they would have normally sold at their stage.
So if you've got 50 things in your inventory, sell them to the trash seller, and you'll get a bit less, but you'll get some.
A bit less? Isn't it like way less?
It's 10% of what you would have.
But it
You're out of
saves
your
you all that
minds.
bank space.
No, I will sacrifice my
And
space
by
to
the
get
time,
beans.
by the time the things
And
run,
this
I'm
is
sure
why
they've
everyone
grown
wants
them
more
again.
bank space.
I want the best efficiency for beans. It's not my fault.
The animals grow, they breed. Just cycle them
It's
through.
an infinite resource.
And that's how I'm out of space, because they've cycled through so much I can't sell them quick enough. This is my problem.
Do better.
The trash seller is really cool though.
Yeah, they are cool.
And there's
They-
and Mod
and they
Roly's
may
got
laugh
a lot of Easter eggs in with the
Yeah.
Oh boy.
with the trash seller, so that'd be quite cool.
Okay, so
Do you want to explain instance burners?
yeah, by all means.
So instance burners are they're new items that you can make that require logs, prayer ashes, and herbs. And depending on what the herb is, it has different effects. So there's a Ranor burner which does stuff with prayer, I think. Can't remember. The Torstal burner. So when you burn them, they last for half an hour, and the longer they burn for, the greater the effect. You can instead overload them to start off with by using 3 burners at once to get the full effect straight away. And it'll last for half an hour. And then if you keep maintaining it, you get the full bonus or the full potency of the incense burner. And they all have different effects. So the Ranor one increases the amount of prayer gain you get from prayer points. For example, the Torstal one increases the amount of XP you gain. So it will start off at 1% or up to 5% at full potency for a certain period of time. And like not every single herb has been done, I don't think, but pretty much every herb in the game has that effect. You need the fire making level in order to make them, and my phone is dead. You need the fire making level to make them, but you need the fire making level to burn them as well. They are tradable, but the aim was to try and make new fire making milestones and make fire making worthwhile. So they're kind of
You can
like
actually sell, right? You can go and make these things and sell them to other people. A point for fire making.
yeah.
107 for fire maker is pretty good, so that's awesome.
That reminds me, isn't there an effect on smithing now from your
Yes,
fire
there is.
making level?
Hello, we just had a scenes change there to a black screen, picture in picture. Yes, there is. I think the higher the fire making, the better the heat.
Yeah, it increases your max heat. It's not a very
Yes.
large bonus, but you can smith for longer before running out of heat if your fire making is high.
Awesome. Right. Okay. So it's dead on 6. So I'll ask.
That's all cool. That's happening. And the fire making update, other one is the fire spirits.
Oh yes.
They give different loot. They have a bar above them, so you can see when they're happening now. I think that's it largely.
Obviously, when we get closer to the time and those releases get closer, then
It'll be in the month ahead for not February.
Can I answer a couple more? Can I answer a couple more questions?
Go on, be quick.
Alia Krabs will look at that bug. Put on the shelf doesn't mean cancelled. It means no one is actively working on it at the moment.
Correct.
We're trying to be more open about what developers are actively working.
Yeah, I was being a bit tongue in cheek.
It means no one is actively working on it. We're not going to do it, and we don't.
Yeah, shelf does not mean cancelled.
I do think the Pick of Earth and Song needs a small buff in addition to being augmentable, but it would only be a small one. Some people are asking about Grace of the Elves toggle. Is that something we want?
That's something we know about.
Yeah.
The port toggle.
I would like to do it, but I'm currently in the mines of ED3. If someone else gets around to doing it,
I'll look at Orbox depositing into deposit points. I need to look into what the impact of that would be and whether that's too powerful.
Already on Jira, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know if it's being done though. So
Okay.
I'll check into that. And opportunities should probably be more visible. Yes, we'll have a look at that.
Yeah, for Bane rocks.
Yeah, I mentioned to you they're quite subtle.
Yeah.
It depends on the rock and it depends on the area.
Use a nighttime skybox of Banor and you'll be able to see it. That'd be the way to help you on that one. There were more questions, but I'll be honest with you, I did not expect us to be already an hour gone with these questions to ask. We have one more important question if you want to take it, which is, has the...
Ask that one.
What?
Go for it, it's fine.
Okay. Has the loyalty or rework been shelved? Timber said there would be a devlog in the next few weeks, about 3 months ago.
There's nothing to say about it.
Okay.
No one on this couch is responsible for what goes into game, and when it goes into game and how it goes. We're how it goes into game, but people above us have decided that it's not happening for now. Something will be happening in the future, but we've got nothing more to say about it. Unfortunately, we don't have a dev blog. And we won't be making a dev blog about
Well, this is the problem, right? We could do one, but then things could change and it'd be a waste of time, right? And this because obviously myself and you were going to come up with a dev blog, but then we were in this situation where we weren't sure specifically what was happening.
Yeah.
So
essentially, we had a plan. The plan has changed.
Yes.
We don't know what the plan is anymore. That plan is being formed.
Gotcha.
By people that are not us.
But it's not been abandoned, I suppose. Is the key.
It's not been abandoned.
It's being looked at.
And think we have the Lord Point sale on Tier 4 auras and Maniacal and stuff right now.
Yeah, Tier 4, Tier 5, Maniacal, Berserker, and Reckless, yeah.
So they're ongoing right now, trying to alleviate that problem. And there'll be probably some things in the future that will be like that, but a full-on rework and things is not right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so to try and summarize the stream really quickly, we covered Mining Smithing, Comp Cape Rework, Elite Dungeon 3, covered into then some of the ninjas projects based on them finishing up Game Jam projects. Again, you can, of course, always watch the stream back here on Twitch. And at the end of the stream, of course, as we end, I'm going to...
Do you really think you were standing a chance against me, Blade?
I'm going to get ready to wrap up very shortly. So I'll send up RuneScape in just a moment. But yes, as always, thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
I wondered when you might interfere.
Really? We're just going to keep playing clips now? Is this what we're going to do? We're going to just end this. We're going to say take care and have a good one.
Do you really think you were standing a chance against me, Blade?
Me Blade!
God.